The Chaska Planning Commission, Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, Planning Commission meeting. Liz, would you make a roll?
Here.
Oswa,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
Lori,
Here.
Herber,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Purdy,
Here.
Bansky, and Chairperson Brett.
Here. With that, we'll move right into adopting the agenda. I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we'll go to a visitor presentation. And so this will be anyone in the crowd that would like to speak to the planning commission about something not on the agenda tonight. So any other issues, grievances? Anybody online, Liz? No. Okay, so then we'll move on to approving the previous meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Second by Kerber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no consent items tonight, so we'll go to action items, and then I'll just point out here. So our first action item is postponed technically. So if someone is in the crowd here for the cloud headquarters, the large data center building, that is not going to be discussed tonight. Just to let you know, if there's anyone here by mistake. Okay, with that, we'll move on to action item 7B, public hearing to recommend approval of the conditional use permit for a dog groomer at 115 Second Street, East River Valley Groomers, PC-2024-14. Liz, can you present, please?
Chairperson Brass and members of the Planning Commission, we have a conditional use permit request in front of us this evening for the property at 115 Second Street East, being proposed by River Valley Groomers. So the site in question is highlighted in blue on this aerial exhibit. It might be a little bit hard to read that blue outline, but I will circle it with my cursor here. The site is located in downtown Chaska, so on the southern portion of the city, Highway 41. On its eastern side, 2nd Street East intersects with Highway 41. So the site in question is on that east side of Highway 41 and what we know as kind of the downtown commercial area of the city. So the building that they're looking at to locate the dog grooming business is located in downtown. So the zoning for specifically an area of downtown where this site is located is zoned downtown historic commercial, what is known as our C3 zoning district. There's a list of permitted and conditional uses that are listed within that zoning district. And one of those conditional uses is small domestic animals such as dogs and cats, grooming service, indoor pet shop. So being that it's listed as a conditional use in this zoning district, they are any user that would like to operate this type of use does have to obtain a conditional use permit with the city. So that's why they're going through this request right now and why they're in front of you this evening. Every CUP requires a public hearing with it as well. So the current request, again, they are asking for approval of a conditional use permit to operate a dog grooming business at the location known as 115 2nd Street East. Just a few details of the specific operation that's in the request this evening is the space or building that they're locating in is a multi-tenant space. So they will be taking up one of the spaces within that building. There is a total of 3 tenant spaces. So this would fill out the building today. So it's roughly 2,200 square feet in size would be the space that they are locating in. They will be open every day from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they will offer bathing, grooming, and nail trimming for dogs that get brought in. And they will have a total of 3 stations within their tenant space for that use itself. They will also have a total of 5 employees that will work there, not all at the same time, but during the open hours of the operation. They do not plan to have any overnight pet stays with their operation, so they'll only have short holding periods for if dogs are waiting to be picked up by their owners. Parking will be provided provided via public parking outside of the building, both on street and in a public lot behind the building. And based on what their need is with their employees and the amount of customers that come in, they'll need roughly about 5 stalls at any peak time. So nothing super demanding. And again, that's only when they're at their peak times. So the space again is highlighted on this screen. The purple areas are defining kind of those near vicinity parking areas for the tenant space. So again, the public parking lot is located directly behind this building, and there's a number of spots behind there, as well as stalls right in front of the building on 2nd Street East and directly across the street. So that gives customers the ability to just walk right into the tenant space from where they park. So there's a list of criteria that's looked at for a conditional use permit request. I'm only going to get into a few of them this evening, but the other ones are spelled out within the report if anyone wants to fully delve into those. The ones in question relate to item C and D. Item C refers to the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. So getting to that evaluation, all of the operations with this use would happen indoors. So there's nothing that's gonna be located outside of the space itself that could in some way impede or have an impact on the normal orderly development around this tenant space. The staff on site would be taking care of the dogs that do come in for any of the grooming business needs. So they will have supervision at all times, in addition to the owners of those dogs that bring them in. So there won't be any loose dogs around. And then just to note that this use is not an atypical use for this area. In fact, there's 2 other animal type uses within kind of the downtown area, which are mainly veterinarian clinics. So a dog grooming business will be a nice supplement to those 2 businesses, but also be something that is not, again, atypical for the area. In regards to D, adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and necessary facilities have been or will be provided. So they are locating into an existing space, so they're not proposing any new utilities or building additions or alterations with their use. They're simply just occupying a tenant space within an existing building. Because of the change of use within this building, like any business, they'll have to work with Met Council to determine if there's any additional SAC charges required for this type of use. And that basically means if they're exceeding the water or sewer usage that's already applied at that site, they'll have to pay for additional charges to connect into the regional system. Access to parking is provided via public parking, as I noted before. And this layout and parking provision, again, is not an atypical setup in downtown. So a lot of businesses rely on public parking within downtown. So it doesn't appear to be any concern with what's provided near the site and what they're able to access, and they have no concerns with how much the demand that they're getting from their operation and being able to supplement that with public parking. At most, again, they'll have maybe up to 6 people in the building, but that is on the peak side of things. And the applicant stated that most of the time the pet owners drop off their pets, so the need for long-term parking or staying in their parking space for a long period of time is not as common. And again, the parking proposed and the provision that's available to the site is not different or demanding something atypical to the area and what the other businesses demand as well. So staff does not see an issue with that setup. So with that, we are asking you to make a motion this evening to recommend approval of the conditional use permit to operate a dog grooming use at 115 2nd Street East. And then subject to the conditions that are laid out in the staff report. And then if this were to move forward this evening, the city council date would be the following Monday on September 16th to review this.
Commission, does any member have any questions for our city staff?
Is the building currently empty, vacant?
Nope, so it currently has two other tenants in there. There's a photography studio and then a printing press or printing type user. So this would fill out the building.
Okay,
Is the only access from the 2nd Street? There's not an access behind the building, correct?
Customer access?
Yeah.
Yeah, the front door would face 2nd Street East.
Yep.
I believe they do have a rear access in the back just for employees. No access in the back? The alleyway, sorry.
This a max of 8 kennels for holding pets before or after they're being groomed. Is that correct? Just 8 and no plans to get any larger than that? Okay,
Shaking their heads no.
okay.
Anyone have any further questions? With that, I will make a motion to recommend approval.
Wait, there's a public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Just jumping right ahead here. I will open up the public hearing at 7:12. If anyone would like to step forward to the commission and have any thoughts or anything they'd like to say. Step forward, and no one online.
And you can raise your hand and we will call on you. Not seeing anyone.
I will close the public hearing also at 7:12. And bring it back to commission again. And with that, I will make a motion to recommend approval of the conditional use permit to operate a dog grooming business at 115 2nd Street, subject to the following 7 conditions. Is there a second?
second.
Commissioner Assen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And then with that, Liz, if you could move on to the last item tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner or Chairperson Brass and Planning Commission members. We have another request this evening for a concept plan specifically for the property that we're noting as the Engelen property, specifically located at 4460 Spring Creek Drive, and this is being proposed by Pulte Homes. So the site in question is again highlighted in blue on this aerial exhibit, and where I'm circling my cursor. The site is located on the southwest edge of the city of Chaska, so it does border with the city of Carver on its southern edge off of Spring Creek Drive. The major roadways around here are Chaska Boulevard, or otherwise known as County Road 61, which flanks the north side of this property, and then Highway 212, which flanks the northwestern portion of the property. And then Spring Creek Drive abuts the southern edge of the property, and the properties that are south of that road are within the city of Carver. So just to give people an idea of what the review process looks like and what the next subsequent steps look like for this proposal. The city of Chaska has a 3-step review process. We're at the first initial step in the review, which is the concept plan. This is more of a high-level review and overview of the project, and where planning commission and city council identify and even staff identify certain things to work on as they move forward in the process. Each of these steps do go to the city's planning commission and city council. Again, the concept that we're in right now is more of that general overview and absorption of feedback from all constituents. This exhibit shows kind of the adjoining uses around the concept plan area. The concept plan area is highlighted in kind of an orange yellow tone and centered on this aerial exhibit. Some of the adjoining uses are the Friends and Worm property, which came in for previous approvals for a subdivision on their property for 162 single-family lots. That is also the property that is immediately east of this property that's owned by the Friends family, and this is about a 2-acre parcel adjacent. So we're again on the southwest edge of the city of Chaska, and then the city of Carver is directly south of the subject area. The developer, as required per the city's process, needs to conduct a neighborhood meeting before they submit a concept plan to the city. They did conduct that on July 11th of this year, and they did have a number of residents attend that meeting. And just to briefly go over some of the questions and concerns that were raised from residents at that meeting. Those pertain to the overall site layout of the project. And I know there was a note specifically about the homes facing Spring Creek Drive. There was a mixed review of that from neighbors. Also concerned with the proposed density, tree preservation, highway noise, traffic increases, and questions about construction traffic and access. And then just earlier this year in June is when that subdivision or preliminary plat and rezoning was approved for the High Point Vistas project directly north and across County Road 61. So in terms of existing conditions of the site in question this evening, so it's owned by the Engelen family. It is composed of approximately 18 acres. They fall just below that 18-acre mark in area. It's currently used as a residential use with agricultural and outbuildings on the site. And you can see the sprinkling of outbuildings throughout the site there. But the majority of the property is used for that agricultural use. As I noted before, the Friends property is this 2-acre parcel immediately east of the property. This is not a part of this concept plan review. However, you will see a ghost layout for this property in terms of access. Spring Creek Drive is basically centered on that border of City of Chaska and City of Carver. However, most of this does reside in the City of Carver. So currently and proposed, the project will be accessing off of Spring Creek Drive. There's a current driveway to the residents out there today, and a part of this concept proposal, they're proposing 2 points of access on this public street. And then also just want to note in terms of existing conditions that utilities to the site from Chaska are not readily available. And I will show an exhibit later on in terms of where those stand today. So the current request, again, is for a concept plan for a 49 lot detached single-family subdivision. In terms of how that fits into the zoning and comprehensive plan guidance out here, the site is currently in an open zoning district, so it's basically a holding zone until it develops and gets rezoned into a district that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan guides this site as low-density residential, and an excerpt from our comp plan is shown as an image here. Basically, low-density residential allows the property to have a density range between 2 to 5 dwelling units per net acre. So how this plan fits into that, they are proposing a 3.1 dwelling unit per net acre proposal with what's shown on the concept plan. So it's within that threshold that is guided by the comprehensive plan. The concept plan is shown on this slide here. Again, there's a total of 49 lots, and they're about 60 feet in width for a majority of these. There are a few that definitely exceed that width for the ones that are on the corners. 19 of those lots will front on Spring Creek Drive. We're proposing to front on Spring Creek Drive. And then the remaining would come off of the internal street network. There are 2 access points proposed on Spring Creek Drive, one that would line up with Birch Street to the south, and then additional access to the west to come off on Spring Creek Drive. One of the questions that we do have from a layout standpoint is whether this needs to be accessed onto Spring Creek Drive. I think further evaluation to look into cul-de-sacing this street is one of the conditions of approval laid out by staff. They are also showing just a ghost layout for the Friends property. So access to the Friends property would have to come through this development, and that's why they're showing this ghost layout. But again, just to mention that the concept plan does not include the approval of this ghost layout at the time that the Friends property and family want to move forward with the development plan. They would have to go through their own approvals on that. But since access is pretty dependent going through the Engelen property, that's why they need to show how access can be achieved. In terms of setbacks that are proposed, they are proposing a 25-foot front setback, 7.5-foot side setback. For a corner lot on its side, it would meet a 20-foot setback and then a rear setback of 20 feet. In terms of how this compares to other subdivisions we've done in the city, these are the same setbacks that have been applied in Rivertown Heights, which is the D.R. Horton project just to the north of this property in the southwest area. So the setbacks proposed are not different from what we've seen before. This screen shows the housing product that they are proposing on the top portion of the slide. So they are proposing 2-story homes on 60-foot wide lots, and they will range anywhere from 2-car to 3-car garages, and then between a threshold of 2,000 to 3,000 square feet in total square footage. And I just wanted to show how the product that they're proposing looks compared to what's on the south side of Spring Creek Drive in Carver. These are the existing homes that are located south of this site. And the lots that these are located on are 50 to 55-foot wide lots. As I mentioned before, with utilities, they are not readily available at this time for this site. Where utilities stub off today, water is on the north side near Founder's Path where Rivertown Heights is. So this is the Rivertown Heights development that I'm circling here. That's where water steps off today. And then sewer is located east of this site, south of Chaska Boulevard or County Road 61. With High Point Vistas getting their pre-plat approval, they are planning to extend utilities down Chaska Boulevard and down the proposed right-of-way for Savannah Way. So they will be at the intersection of Savannah Way and County Road 61, so in a readily available location. However, they're still working through their plans and their timeline of when that's going to happen. But to make utilities readily available for this site, they are kind of dependent on that development happening first. If they don't want to wait for High Point Vistas, it would come at the cost of them extending from where the utilities exist today. Another piece to talk about, and this is more set up as a discussion point for the Planning Commission, is related to park space or usable space for the development. Parkland dedication, the comprehensive plan does not guide this area as a neighborhood or public park space. However, it is worth noting that the site itself is located more than a half a mile or up to a mile away from nearby park facilities, and some that would require crossing some major streets. So it is kind of isolated in this location in terms of having that space for the residents of this development. So we are asking you as a discussion item this evening to talk about this further in terms of the appropriateness of looking at or having the developer further evaluate usable open space or a tot lot within their actual project area, and adding it as a condition of approval. And I note that because it's not an ordinance requirement, it's not a comprehensive plan identified piece. Therefore, you know, through this PUD or PRD process, at the discretion of the Planning Commission and Council, you can add a condition of approval to further evaluate that or require that in the development. And just for precedence sake, this piece is not something that we haven't seen before. A previous development, which was a townhome development on the north side of Clover Ridge, just outside the borders of the Clover Ridge neighborhood. When that came through the approval process, it was noted and conditioned during Planning Commission and Council to provide a tot lot. So it has been a request before, so it wouldn't be out of the box necessarily. So just to reiterate a couple things that I kind of already went through and things to work on for preliminary. And actually one thing that I haven't yet, but the first item on here, with the location of this site and how the rest of the development has been happening in Southwest Chaska, it has been predominantly detached single-family homes. We did put as a condition of approval and have been encouraging the developer to evaluate maybe introducing another housing product within this development in addition to the detached single family, such as a townhome product or a villa product, much like what was done in Brooks Ridge, which was another Pulte development. This one was a mix of row homes and villas within a pretty similar scaled site. And the reason for this condition or further evaluation, at least from staff standpoint, is there is an opportunity here to provide for more diversity in the housing products and price points within the city. And this again, is that time to further evaluate that and see if there's an opportunity to, again, provide that variety within this area. Another thing to work on, again, which we've already iterated, is the west access shown onto Spring Creek Drive and whether or not that can be converted into a cul-de-sac. Working on the utility access and hookups and how that's going to be done. Providing sidewalks on both sides of the street, which is a requirement / policy of the city in any new development. And then with the site being flanked by major roadways on the north and northwest portions of the site, screening will be a big component of those edges. So they'll have to work on a landscape plan as a part of their preliminary moving forward. That one kind of goes in tandem with a noise study, which MnDOT typically requires along those major roadways. And again, it's something that was done on the High Point Vista site too, is just to understand how to mitigate noise from the adjoining roadways, major roadways, and how screening and other methods can help to mitigate. And MnDOT will probably have additional ideas towards that front, but again, that's a study that they'll need to put together for preliminary. So in conclusion, with the conditions applied and working through those, we are asking you to make a motion to recommend approval of the concept plan for the Engelen property, and then based on the conditions that are laid out in the staff report. If this item were to move forward this evening, it would also be looked at the following council date of Monday, September 16th, 7 p.m. in this room as well.
Thank you, Liz. Bring it back to commission and we'll discuss first. And although it's not a public hearing on this one, I will open it up to the visitors here tonight. So a quick question in regards to utilities. Obviously, they're up quite a ways from there. Just remind me, are they not able, because it's Chaska development, not able to tap Carver utilities? Obviously, there's utilities across the street.
Because it's located within the city of Chaska. they
Yeah.
Chaska utilities.
Okay, so potentially with whatever comes out of this meeting tonight, conditions we may or may not put it onto this in addition. They're, unless they're gonna take the financial burden of extending those utilities, they're probably in a waiting period for a while until something moves forward.
Mhm.
Okay. I have some questions for the applicant and whatnot, and want to have people come forward, but let any other members of the commission ask questions, city staff.
Yeah, they're between 500 to 600,000 is what they've told us.
Have we reached a spot in our economy that's the starter home? Is
It's starting
Is
to
that-
seem that way.
I think
that where we
is-
are now?
That is the,
Yeah, I mean, it's been
I mean,
kind of the
the
general.
size of them looks like they're small.
They do.
Yeah, okay.
Can you refresh on the park? Was it suggested to the developer to possibly install a park into that neighborhood? I mean, I just think it'd be a very good idea with Spring Creek Road there.
I'm with Campbell on this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the heavy traffic on Spring Creek. You
If
don't
I
want
don't-
people-
yeah,
kids on the
exactly,
street.
exactly.
It's a Park.
Yeah, and they have to cross the road and it's a half mile away, and so,
It's not even a suggestion. It's
Yeah,
more
so-
of a-
But
yeah. So we can kind of talk amongst ourselves on that, but yeah, it certainly on my mind.
Liz, could you clarify? I'm just wondering, your last point there about the diversification of adding the townhomes. That's something new. Why? Why now? Why not with High Point Vistas? Why not with the last one? Why with this one?
Well,
I-
I'll jump in.
I'm just kind of wondering why now?
Since we had a conversation, I think, and we'll let the people come up. I think there's a lot of, from the neighborhood meeting, there's a lot of potential issue with all the driveways on Spring Creek. And maybe potentially they could solve that if they did like a rear loaded townhome or villa to where you could still have the houses face each other. So I think maybe that was the idea, but I don't want to jump to conclusions until we hear from the
But the
crowd.
house is on the other side of the street, access Spring Creek Road, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean-
so exactly. So
So,
I want to
just-
hear from the
like,
neighbors.
I'm
though,
just,
but
like I
that's-
said, I'm just kind of understanding
Yeah.
the concept of,
It would be a potential to alleviate their concern of all these extra driveways.
You're
Um,
gonna also have additional cars,
yeah, that's true.
more density.
And then, like Liz said too, the extra access point, I'm not sure about as well, but.
but I think that was the part where it's like, was that the point, was that the reason for it, or? And how receptive was it from the
Wants to know
developer?
what caused your company.
Right. I mean, why now?
Commissioner Olson, I think some of the reasons that Chair Brass has put forward weigh into the suggestion. I think this is a relatively smaller site, so it does provide some opportunities to think maybe a little bit more creatively with it. In addition to that, I think staff has gotten, we've heard on multiple occasions a desire to see more diversity in housing options offered in developments. So we felt like this is a good opportunity to have that discussion. With this development in front of you, there's an opportunity to talk about what sort of housing makes the most sense in this location, given the pressures that it faces relative to the neighborhood. And, maybe taking a look at other styles of housing would help in this particular situation. It feels like, I think it's a valid conversation, anytime we see development. Are there ways to work with the developer to pursue diversity in housing options? That's a priority that I think we've long held, and it's a worthy discussion.
Right, I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with it's worth the conversation. This is literally the first time that has come up in my now 6 years.
Better to start now, huh?
Of
Gotta start somewhere.
everything has been single family or multifamily. It's always been one or the other. This is what it is.
I think there are neighborhoods though, like Clover Ridge.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
a mix, but that's before us.
but that was before, but that's.
Yeah,
the
so
part
it
where
has
it's like-
happened, yeah.
It has, but that's the part where it's like, I was just kind of questioning why this one.
And I don't think
now.
they're saying they have to, but I do want to hear from them. I
Right,
think it's kind of as a potential problem solve. If there is issues, could the developer look at it or
and I'm
not?
trying to also understand what is the problem we're trying to solve?
Yeah, but well, I don't think we know
Mhm.
yet, because I think
Right.
we're gonna hear.
Because I haven't,
Well,
right,
and
right.
the price point's gotta figure into it too.
Oh, for
Right.
sure. Liz, can you bring up this?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Just, I think this is kind of,
Right.
yeah,
Can you zoom it in a
zoom
little?
in just on the,
Like control
Or-
mouse wheel?
there
There you
you
go.
right.
So like for me, also just amongst commission here, before we get into the
Mhm.
crowd, I'm not a fan of 39, 40, 41, 47, 48, 49, 32, 33, 34, 31, like those. Like for instance, house 40, now again, it's open market, someone will buy whatever they want to buy, right? Free market, but you're looking at that and it's like, is there a better way to design that where it's like you got a house and it's locked in there in a little prison, with like faces back, all the backyard. Sometimes you get these in little nooks and crannies on developments. You get houses that kind of, the backyard faces another house or two backyards face each other on a row. But this, you've got like three with 47, 48, 49, they're,
Well,
do
that
the
one's-
nature of the curve. And then you got the
Right.
other houses facing that way. And then you got the houses facing this. You just got this, I don't know,
Right, and that's. the
feels
easy
really
one.
dense.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the part where it's like, they're talking about, not having the two access points. And
Yeah, that
I think
too
that's
might
the
help.
part where it's the. not
Or-
having-
Or maybe even if you had like some sort of more denser option there, like
Right,
little
because if you only
townhomes or
have.
something. I don't know, like, I just feel like it looks, my opinion, just talking out loud, I just feel like it looks a little dense and look.
But there's definitely opportunity there if you take just having one access point that matches
And,
across.
Right,
yeah,
because you can
and
go,
or
Right,
yeah,
if we're looking at a tot lot or a little park area for children.
Right.
There
And
could
then,
be a use here where you don't have
Correct.
these houses face each other and maybe
Exactly.
you've got a
Right.
little area. Cause again, you're at least a half mile away for a park. And if you
Mhm.
zoom out in Carver, there's really nothing there either. And that's unfortunately,
I
I
think
can't control that.
down the
Correct.
hill,
Yeah.
like. I am-
So you
Yeah,
gotta cross
you
a county
can't-
road that's
yeah.
busy. Don't like it at all. So,
And I will, I will throw my hat in the ring for lot one. The trees on lot one, maybe even lot two. We can save as many of those as we can. I know we're not talking many.
have we got
but
tree study yet or is that we're
it's
too early?
for
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but,
Sometimes they
obviously,
do it.
there aren't many trees on the lot, but if we can save as many as we can there, then that would be great.
Tear them down, plant 2-inch calipers.
Wait 80 years.
Okay, is there further questions for staff or should we open it? Should I open it up? I mean, it's not official.
Yeah, open up, see what
All
they
right.
have to say.
So it's not a public hearing, but I'll open it up at 7:41 for anyone like to come forward, talk to commission. When you do step forward, please say your name and address. And feel free to come on up.
My name is Karen Moscow, and I live on 1894 Spring Creek Drive. So I'm facing. I am one that's quite concerned about the number of driveways coming on our already busy street. We have a police sign that says, hey, your speed is thus and such already, trying to control the speed. And that cross street coming right into the middle of the development is just not good at all. We are, encouraging more families. We already have families, little kids on bikes and people walking with strollers, and to add traffic in the middle is just not cool. I
Say
like
cross street, you mean the second access
the
point?
second exit. Yeah,
Okay.
don't have the map up anymore.
Yep, that's fine. Yep, I understand.
And one of the ideas, I like your cul-de-sac idea, that's cool. But the other one would be to go way to the west corner where you're talking about the big trees are now. But that's also a natural slowdown point as you go to the other part of Spring Creek and you've got Green Ash Drive coming up from the south. And it just would make sense. It's almost like a continuation of Green Ash Drive to have the intersection there. It continues to have their pie shaped and irregular lots and the rest of it, but it was just another idea I had. But mostly I wanted to speak to the fact that please don't have that second cross street come into the middle of our neighborhood.
Jackie Stordahl, 1964 Mulberry. So we live further on in that development, but we were at the first public hearing, and generally, people liked the first plan that the builder came out with. That didn't have the houses, the driveways facing Spring Creek. The backs of the houses would be facing Spring Creek, and so it had a better flow to it. It didn't seem so regimented, it was just a little more free flowing and less obtrusive, visually for the people living right across the street. So generally, I think we liked the first plan better, and I don't recall why it was switched, but I think they fit another lot in the property or something like that.
Out here
Yeah.
was there a previous iteration that I'm not aware of or we haven't seen?
Yes, and it's consistent with what Jackie is saying. There was a plan that showed all of the lots fronting off the internal public street system versus Spring Creek Drive. We had we got commentary back from the city of Carver, and there was a note about maybe putting the driveways on Spring Creek Drive just from a traffic calming perspective in a symmetry perspective.
right.
So yes. There was a previous plan.
No, we can take,
yeah.
so I just want to be clear, it's not unusual, thank you. It's not unusual that before an application is submitted, there's multiple iterations, right? That might be provided to staff. We might weigh in, provide some direction as the developer.
Carver had some say.
Right, yeah,
Mhm.
and even at the stage of the before concepts plan submission, there may be, well, there is the neighborhood meeting that we require, right? And so in that neighborhood meeting, that's before the developer is submitted as well. So they may be putting some different options forward, seeking feedback. So there's feedback provided at the neighborhood meeting. I think that influenced the direction the developer went. There was also feedback that staff provided. There was also feedback in coordination with the city of Carver. So, the idea of having the driveways connect to the street is really to be consistent with what already exists across the street. And thinking of neighborhood cohesion, thinking about when you do have driveways that connect to a street, that can often be a traffic calming device. That's something that we see on some of our streets in Chaska, like Schoolmaster Drive is one that sticks out to me, where you have a pretty long street there, but it's lined on either side with driveways. That creates that more neighborhood street feel and causes traffic often to move slower than it would when you don't have those access points. That's why we design collector roads the way we do without access points, because it's more designed for traffic throughput and speed, right? So those are some of the thought processes that went into this. This is not a collector road. Carver does not consider it a collector road, and so they are trying to establish it as a neighborhood street to the extent that they can. My understanding is it's a bit of a legacy road, that it had been there, when it was more township and rural areas. And so that presents a challenge in and of itself too, anytime you're working with that. But those are some of the factors that went into, Pulte submitting what they did.
Feedback, working with Carver, they're looking for your standard residential street where the houses face each other, rather than you look at someone else's backyard.
I think the important thing for tonight, and not that I want to keep this top secret or anything, and we can definitely share it with the planning commission, but I think the important thing is that we're evaluating what's in front of you this evening, right? And so if you've got comment or direction that you want to give on what's in front of you, I think that's a good discussion to have, rather than evaluating something that wasn't submitted, right?
Yep, of course. Thank you. And so were you done speaking? Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kevin Gillick. I'm at 1929 Birch Street in Carver. And first of all, I just wanted to, I don't know if we compliment you or you, but we're Carver. The fact that we actually got an invitation to come to a Chaska meeting and not disenfranchising us, I think is pretty cool.
Well, we
So,
on that.
yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
keep that up because it's,
Comments are always accepted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially compliments.
Yeah.
I think they'll complimented you. To your point about Plan 1, and I don't know if this is Plan 2 or Plan 3, but now we're talking about the possibility of townhomes, which would be Plan 3 or Plan 4. And so I'm not sure when our questions are and your answers are final. It's like, is there going to be another
So,
plan? When do we know what we're talking about?
yeah, so we're talking about this tonight. So whatever you saw before is not what's being presented.
Okay,
See on what was Liz presented is what we are reviewing. And so
Okay.
it's very common, like Nate had said, developers go through many iterations, talk to the residents, kind of change things a little bit, talk to the city. We have 2 cities involved, and then they get to a plan that they present to us. So what you see is what's being presented, and then from the feedback on what's being presented, we can discuss and maybe add conditions or change. And this is only concept. This again is preliminary. The major step would be the next one at preliminary plat. Once they take our feedback from concept, go back, revise, do things, come back again for their next visit. So once this moves through tonight, if it does move through, it's only concept, right? So
okay.
just kind of, it can, this is gonna be exaggeration, but it can be a napkin sketch. It can be like, I want to put some houses here, and it's just a concept.
So if you kind of approve this tonight, it sounds like it's going to the city council.
Let's
on
go to
Monday.
city council, then they'd have to approve it, they'd have to go back, work on everything that's been
Okay.
conditioned in this approval, represent again with a new and improved plan, which you guys would be involved again.
We
Yep.
know about the city council meeting because it was on your screen,
Yeah.
and you guys were kind enough to send us a postcard. Once things start moving along in the city council, will we also be getting courtesy cards from them so we know?
Come back for preliminary plat, they would get a notification again, and that
Yep.
again, to let you know, I'm just. I can't speak on behalf of the applicant, we'll hear from them soon probably, but there's no utilities nearby, and it's gonna cost a fortune to move them.
Yeah.
So this might be a year or two until you, I mean, you might think it's never gonna happen, and it really is, it just might be, it might be a while.
Okay,
Just to let you know.
my original compliment of keeping us informed. As long as we're informed along the way and have a chance to participate, because we don't know where to hunt and peck to look for information in Carver and Chaska, and if you keep the process simple for us in the neighborhood, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Sure,
that.
thanks. There's more I see more people. Anyone coming up? Don't be shy. No?
Maybe.
The applicant here want to speak? Yep,
Okay.
okay.
My name is Haley Daly. I work for Pulte Homes, Minnesota, Manager of Land Planning and Entitlement, 1650 West 82nd Street, Suite 300, Bloomington, Minnesota. Also with me tonight is Dean Lauder, our Director of Land Planning and Entitlement as well. And so we hear the concerns, we hear the comments as well from commissioners. I just want to stand here for any additional comments and can make a few of my own, but if you guys want to ask anything of me at this time.
So I will have, I'll just start off and then we can get on the rest of the commission. And I guess I'm going to address the people in the crowd as well and kind of get some feedback if maybe you know from your neighbors, but starting off, first thing first, park space, I think it's a big deal. I'm not going to speak until we vote, but I'm going to recommend, I think it's probably going to be favored here to have some sort of park for children. It's just too far away across the county road. The second access point does seem a little redundant to me when it's, especially if we are going to have a bunch of driveways right on Spring Creek. So you're only going to have so many houses. I don't know if you really necessarily need 2 access points. Traffic study might help with that, but to go into to answer the question to the first lady who had come up, and again, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I would not be in favor of a road all the way on the west side. It does make more sense for a safety standpoint to have roads connect with other roads and make perfect Ts. So when you have 4-way stops and stuff like that, it's always easier and better. But so second access point, a park. Density is kind of a new thing. I'm not sure if it was even discussed or thought about. I guess the only reason I would even say consider the density issue would be if the neighbors are not at all in favor of all the driveways on the front. It sounds like the city of Carver, I don't know if you have to go to them next or how this is gonna work for you, but they want the houses facing front, which makes sense because it's like a neighborhood. So the houses face each other, but I'm not even sure if the neighbors would be in favor of a little more dense, if that would throw off the look or not, or if you would even be willing to look at that or not, so.
Yeah, if I may. So I understand the need for a tot lot and we will definitely look at that as well as the layout as far as that, seeing if that western entrance we can remove and do a cul-de-sac. We will definitely look into all of the items listed. And then as far as the density, so when we were initially looking at the plan for what could go here in our proposed neighborhood, we really looked to the comp plan, which, as you know, those are a lot of time, energy, and resources goes into it from everyone, from the city, from neighbors, residents. And that's guided for low density residential, as Liz said, and it's 2 to 5 units per acre. And our proposal is in that guideline of the 3.1. And I think, and we would definitely need to look into it more, but whenever you add more homes or attached townhomes or villas, that density increases. So for us, our signal from the comp plan was to do something that was low density, single family detached homes.
Yep, and I, as it stands, I'm in agreement with you. Like, I think it's fine, potentially though it is. It would only be a matter of if it's appeasing the neighbors, if there's a big outcry. I mean, can't please everybody, and so sometimes this may be just the way. I was just kind of bringing it up because it was brought up. So that's my kind of talking points. Anyone else want to take over for, not to sit here and talk?
Could you elaborate on the I mean, since they brought up the change of from previous versions, so how did you end up coming up with the two entrances from where you started?
Yeah, so originally we had a different concept plan, which staff had seen, and we, like mentioned, we had some feedback to look at a layout with homes facing Spring Creek Drive, which mimics what's existing. That's a local road, and typically local neighborhood streets do have homes facing on both sides of the street. So we also thought that made sense. And then typically what we thought would work best is to have a second point of access, just since typically cities do prefer to have 2 points of access with this number of homes. But again, it is something we can definitely look at, but that's just how we got there, is by feedback from neighbors as well as staff, and to look at it. And the second point of access was just what we thought would work in this, but obviously we're getting different feedback to look at other options.
Yeah, I just think if you got 20 homes with access directly on Spring Creek, now we're only really talking about 20 other homes that need a road, and if we cul-de-sac and put a tot lot, maybe it's 18 homes, you know, so it would be something that potentially would help the neighbors and address concerns, kind of get two for there.
Like a cul-de-sac over here, you talking
Yeah, just kind of like
So then-
end it right here, maybe, or something,
Mhm.
you know, or maybe they, yeah,
Right,
I don't
'cause then
know,
they
maybe
could go
maybe
around
they go a little more this
Versus
way, or-
access off of Spring Creek.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, did you say, was there already a neighborhood? You talked with the neighbors. What was your impression of that meeting? What did you guys get out of it?
We heard a lot of opinions in the meeting, and I think when any time a development is proposed or questions,
Right.
Yeah.
and so we did our best to answer them at that time, but again, we're still so early in the phase of concept plan. Obviously, not all of their questions could be answered just because we are still very early, so we were just looking for their feedback, your feedback, city council, staff.
What was your biggest concern you took away from that meeting?
Hard to decide. I think traffic was a concern, but I know that there's improvements scheduled to be made with High Point Vista to that County Road 61. And as well as mentioned, you know, more driveways actually do help slow down drivers tonight.
It's the roundabout, right, Nate, Liz, potentially in the future,
Yep, there's a couple different options being
potentially a roundabout.
at that time, but yeah, I mean, the ultimate condition would be a roundabout.
Yeah.
A single lane roundabout to help with, the traffic.
Greatest
area.
new thing now, right?
So actually, Nate, this actually puts a different twist on things because it creates a border between Carver and Chaska. So who ultimately has responsibility for this street?
Yeah.
Because.
You're talking
Typic-
Spring Creek Drive?
Yeah. So typically we'd say,
plowing
okay,
and
well,
stuff?
we can put stop signs there or this or that. So who actually has responsibility for the safety and responsibility for Spring Creek Drive?
Yeah, so this is a conversation that we've initiated with Carver staff around, you know, now that there's going to be development on the north side of Spring Creek Drive, you know, what makes sense, right? So I think up until this point, since Spring Creek Drive has served Carver, Carver has maintained and taken care of it. But I think, you know, both cities recognize that that dynamic is going to change. And so we need to take a look at how that's shared, you know, what makes sense, right? So that'll be part of the discussion. I think that gets more definition around that. As it pertains to placing, you know, a stop sign, I think what we would be looking at is, you know, what sort of signage needs to accommodate this development. And that would be, you know, the city of Chaska's involvement.
Right, and I was thinking more specific than the fact of, like I said, we're talking about putting, you know, development on the north side with
Yep.
access, and
Yep.
how do you create the flow and keep the safety side of things for both sides of the street, knowing that you've got two cities on either side.
Right. Yep.
That creates fun.
It's not a typical, right, situation that we run into. But you know, there are areas of the city, 82nd Street is another one where that's a local controlled road, right? That shares a border with Chanhassen, in one part Victoria. So there's, you know, some shared agreements that kind of go into that one as well.
And knowing that they're asking for it. I mean, I think that's the part where it's like Carver was asking for the community feel. So it's the, you know, it's a unique one, but it's the making sure that we're going in with eyes wide
I
open.
think you should flip a coin for it.
So the city of Carver is asking for that, but like the development is within Chaska, right? So
Correct.
if suppose residents want to talk to city of Carver, so they can go to their planning commission meetings, or how exactly they can approach the city, saying that they are not in favor of what exactly city is proposing.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? This is the development that's in Chaska,
Chaska,
right? So it's
exactly.
gonna go through Chaska's process. Obviously the folks are here this evening, right? So they've found their way here.
Exactly, right?
Well,
They did, so thank
and
So-
this isn't the development being proposed.
And I'll kind of
This is our process to manage.
I'm in here too, so
Yep,
technically, it's our developments, our city, we can
Yep.
do what we want,
Mhm.
but it's kind of being neighborly to our,
right.
like, they had some feedback, they'd like to see. how
Yeah,
it's facing,
definitely, like,
Right,
I
so
mean,
that's
yeah.
kind of, ultimately, yes, it's the Chaska development.
Yeah, because they provide some inputs to the developer. At the same
Right.
time, like they are responsible to hear the concerns from the
Yeah.
their like
So the next
people,
one-
right? So exactly,
Yeah,
so the
yeah,
same thing.
we
So
don't- yeah. Is there any other members in the audience? You sure you don't want to come forward? Any other residents? Thank you. Yep. Yeah, come on up.
My name is Jim Strive. I'm at 1941 Mulberry Lane, Carver. And of course, this is in the neighboring, across the street, you know, we're one block back. Question, Mount Hope and Chaska Boulevard. So what I heard was the possibility of a
Roundabout.
roundabout.
Yeah.
So does that mean Chaska Boulevard would then become a 4-lane? Yeah,
So
you know, so just like it is,
because of the big development on the north side, I think there might be like a second lane in the roundabout to get,
Mhm.
you know, to turn off in, but there'd be like a one
One
yeah,
lane roundabout.
one lane roundabout with turns.
okay,
Yep.
all right. I think that was primarily the traffic because there's a tremendous amount of traffic that comes out of Carver,
Yeah.
out of the Spring Creek addition, and everything funnels right to the corner of Mount Hope Road and Chaska Boulevard.
Sure.
And so that is going to be a
lot of people use
a traffic interlock.
A lot of people use Jonathan Carver to get on 212 though. Do they?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you go either that way or we come through Chaska and spend our money here.
Yeah, okay. Or go, or sneak up to Fleet Farm, go around.
So
Yeah.
logistics, and understandable that there's a lot of versions that will go forward as people add things or ideas, or
Right.
you suddenly find out the utilities can't be run 3 or 4 miles across the farm land, you know, to support the area or whatever. The other question I have is there a part of this, and granted, I'm not a developer. By the way, are you with the development firm?
No, I'm with the city of Chaska.
So-
That question makes me wonder whether I'm doing my
Come
job.
on. I'd like to know what the audience is. You spoke as if you were the developer.
Shoot.
So anyways,
He just has lots of information. He's good at what he does.
Yeah.
is there an environmental impact statement that goes along with the developer?
I think we get, not at this level, I don't believe, right?
Later.
This is again, concept, this is kind of high level, like, hey, plop some homes
Would
down.
there be
Yeah,
one?
no, so just with the scale of this development, it doesn't rise to the level that it would require an environmental impact statement or
So
an
no
AUA.
environmental impact statement is required, nor anything else
Right. That was probably consistent, I was looking at the plat for your neighborhood. I don't, I think it's probably a similar scale to what this one
So
is.
there's no group that's gonna come and say, save the
Wouldn't have been-
bees or anything like that, right? Okay,
No.
all right,
That's.
very good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
I
have
think
someone
I see-
online.
Oh,
Yep, it looks like we have a hand raised online.
sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it.
It looks like a Michael Muhick. If you wanna unmute, you can speak. There we go.
Okay. My name is Mike Mewich. I live right across the street from the main driveway that goes into the Engelen property right now. And one thing that I haven't heard tonight is anything about safety. And that was brought up at the community meeting with Pulte that we had. Safety, there's a bus stop right at Birch Street right now, Birch Street and Carver, for all the school kids in the morning. And so I just hope that the planning commission will take into consideration how much construction traffic there's going to be and where that construction entrance is going to be, because there's all kinds of kids on Spring Creek going to school, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, whenever the bus routes happen. And that was a big concern at the meeting. So that's one. The second thing is that, and it's already been addressed, but I just want to reiterate that second opening or entrance, egress, ingress out of the Engelen property, not on Birch Street, but the second one down westward. I don't see why you would need that with only 5 houses in between the Birch Street entrance and then the second entrance. The Vista property that you've already approved doesn't have has many more houses between the entrances than what you're looking at for this Engelen property. So I think, and on the Carver side of Spring Creek, there's 20 houses between Birch Street and Green Ash. So I think that the limited amount of houses that you have between the two ingress streets is really unnecessary. And then lastly, I would just like to say that there were some comments about that they made changes after they got input from the neighborhood, and I don't think that's accurate. Pulte sent out a diagram of the proposal for the plat. When we got to the meeting, they had a different picture up and said, disregard what we sent you. This is the new layout. So there was no input from any neighborhood people about their plat at the meeting. They had already switched it before they held the neighborhood meeting. So I just want to set that out there for you. I know you said you're not considering the old one, but there was no input from the neighborhood about changing it. That's all I got. Thank you very much, and I appreciate being able to attend your meeting tonight.
Thank you. I'll just address a couple of that. Obviously, there will be much consideration to construction traffic at the appropriate time. This would not be that time, but it will be taken care of. Again, he sounds like he concurs with us on the second access point. And yeah, so anybody else would like to address the commission? You want to come one more time? Sure.
You were talking about the density and the existing homes on Spring Creek. The picture that she has are only the western section. The eastern section of Spring Creek now is villas, and immediately on Birch Street is villas. So again, as you're making those considerations, they are already in the neighborhood, single level villas.
Oh, okay.
And then this Highway 61 traffic, that's the way a GPS sends people off at 212 to get to us, is back around the shed and on 61 and then in. So
Okay. Yep. Anybody else? All right, with that, I will, even though it's not a public hearing, I'm closing the public hearing at 8:10. We'll bring it back to commission for final thought and discussion. I would like to, I'll just start off. I think we should add a condition that the road, the second access point is removed.
Mhm,
And we should add a condition that we need sort of park and or tot lot
mhm.
in the development. Sounds like most of the neighbors didn't mind the density per se of the single family homes and the driveways on the road, so I don't see any need to tell a developer to change their whole layout in terms of density. I think it looks fine by me and it fits within our 2 to 5 units per acre. I saw in the provisions, something we didn't discuss, but I saw in there, there's sidewalks on both sides of the street, and I do like that. So those are my two, the road and the park. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add or contribute or
I think that's,
That covers it.
covers it?
Yep.
Okay. With that, I will make a motion to recommend approval of the concept plan for the property, subject to the following 23 conditions with 2 additional conditions. One is to remove their second access point. And the second would be to add some sort of park to the property.
I do want to clarify that condition number 23 does
Oh,
iterate the
it is, okay, so one
evaluation on the
Gotcha.
cul-de-sac, so we would just be adding one.
park.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so one extra condition. So it's 24 conditions. Is there a second?
second.
Ooh,
We all
Kerber.
second.
We call it Kerber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let's see here, moving along, we will receive we don't have any other business, so receive in the other meeting minutes. I'll hereby receive those. And then, anything anyone wants to discuss quick with the city, questions before we adjourn? Nothing? All's good?
All well.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
May, motion to adjourn.
Kerber first.
Second.
Second, Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.